fun.
Hello, hello, hello.
Huh?
Hello, hello, crafty friends. There's Betty. Hi, Betty. One private chat. No, stream chat. Okay. All right, where did my scoring tool go? I had it here a second ago. I swept up my papers. Anybody else out there besides Betty? Is there everybody remembering we're at 2 instead of 3? I hope. Hello, friend Betty. Can you hear me okay? There's Patrice. Hello, Patrice. Oh, thank you. Okay, let my scoring tool. Sweep it into my stack. It could have happened when I was cleaning up. Hello, Betty McSorley. Hello, hello. Oh, there, it's in the machine. It's just pushed up in there. Hey, guys. I don't know if you have them, but if you have one, grab your scoring board or your explosion board because it's actually helpful for what we're doing. If you don't have that, grab a different scoreboard if you have one, or a ruler and a scoring tool. Or if necessary, a ruler and a pen. Hi, Wanda. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We're going to have lots of fun today. We're going to revisit childhood, which for me is pretty easy. I barely lived there. I live there most of the time. Yeah, I do. Other supplies that will be useful to have handy would be some scissors, glue, your tape, like I said, scoreboard. Bow maker, yes, thank you. Bow makers. Get some of those out. Flip back on the right hand, but not the left. Did you injure both hands, Patrice? I thought you injured one hand. Goodness, goodness. Hi, Betty. You're making Easter cards tonight. Excellent. Excellent. One in November and one in January. Well, you got to be nicer to your hands, woman.
No more cartwheels.
No more cartwheels, yeah. Hi, Brenda. Welcome, friend. We were just saying that if you have your explosion board, grab it because it will actually be useful in this tool. The scoring is just the right measures to make it very useful for what we're doing, having gravity issues. Would you grab me a tissue, please, honey? We are going to have so much fun today. I was just saying we're going to kind of revisit our childhood, which for me is a very short journey. Very short journey. Thank you, love. positive, but I think we might be on the leading edge of trees pollinating.
Oh, heavens.
Just the leading edge. Hello, Thelma. Last time here, she says. Revisit, I'm still in mind. Well, Patrice, that's kind of what I'm saying too. I refuse to leave. I'm kind of like Peter Pan. Kind of like Peter Pan. We're kind of hanging out to let people join us, but you know, we're going to get started fairly promptly today because we have a lot to do. And what's that?
5 after.
Okay. I think that we are going to go ahead and get started. What I want to do first is take a quick perusal through your kit. So let's do that. Of course, you have your Mrs. Tiggy Winkle CD. There's not much in it. There is a little blurb on the back, but basically you have your CD box. And it belongs to, and that's pretty much it with the Mrs. Tiggy Winkle box. But wait till you see what's inside. I was perusing this with Bryce last night. I think he was surprised how many images and stuff we have too. You have your free Mrs. Tiggy Winkle stamp because I just couldn't help myself. They're absolutely adorable. And I love the multicolor image on the front. So when you stamp it, you can actually use this as your color guide, which is cool. So we won't be using that today, but it's fun. And we have a set of phone tabs, which we most certainly are going to be using. We have our cards and envelopes. We have our mirror board. I'll put my envelopes away as normal. I'm working here today. We should have, you will have 3 6x6s and a European A6. It's a mirror board. You're going to have this beautiful black, it's called Onyx Glimmer sheet. And then we get to our printed images, which remember, I have printed off of your CD just as a convenience to you. Since you're all purchasing the CD, I just printed these in advance for you. And we've got thank you for all you do. We've got our order sheet. As you get to the decoupage, I want you to set that one out. Here are some of our background sheets. When you get to the second decoupage, set that one out. When you get to the pyramid, I want you to set this one out. And we don't need to get any others right now, but you can see you just have a wealth of wonderful stuff in your kit. And then I have a few things you don't have that are here for my notes. Then you also have your ribbons, you have your foam squares, and we are set to go. What you'll need to have ready and available for our project, if you don't have them, this will be a good time to grab them soon. An explosion board or a scoring board if you have it. If you don't, grab a ruler and a pen or pencil, and we can do it that way. And you'll want some scissors, of course. You'll want your bow maker. You'll want some glue. You're going to want your best glue ever if you have it. We're gluing our bows on. And like I said, we'll have these decoupage sheets at the top of the stack. We're going to start here today. I think that a visit to the world of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle will be all so much more wonderful for you if we are refreshed with the story. So while we're watching the story of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, which we're going to do here momentarily, I would like for you to work on cutting out your decoupage images so we can make that process a little faster when we get there. So work on your decoupage images while we watch Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, and if our technology supports us, which we think it will because we really practiced, let's go ahead and watch Mrs. Tiggy Winkle first. We'll be cutting while we watch.
The Tale of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle by Beatrix Potter. Once upon a time, there was a little girl called Lucy, who lived at a farm called Littletown. She was a good little girl, only she was always losing her pocket handkerchiefs. One day little Lucy came into the farmyard crying. Oh, she did cry so. "I've lost my pocket handkin. 3 handkins and a penny. Have you seen them, Tabby Kitten?" The kitten went on washing her white paws, so Lucy asked a speckled hen, "Sally Hennypenny, have you found 3 pocket handkins?" But the speckled hen ran into a barn clucking, "I go barefoot, barefoot, barefoot." And then Lucy asked Cock Robin sitting on a twig. Cock Robin looked sideways at Lucy with his bright black eye, and he flew over a stile and away. Lucy climbed upon the stile and looked up at the hill behind Littletown, a hill that goes up, up into the clouds as though it had no top. And a great way up the hillside, she thought she saw some white things spread upon the grass. Lucy scrambled up the hill as fast as her stout legs would carry her. She ran along a steep pathway, up and up, until Littletown was right away down below. She could have dropped a pebble down the chimney. Presently she came to a spring, bubbling out from the hillside. Someone had stood a tin can upon a stone to catch the water. But the water was already running over, for the can was no bigger than an egg cup. And where the sand upon the path was wet, there were footmarks of a very small person. Lucy ran on and on. The path ended under a big rock. The grass was short and green, and there were clothes props cut from bracken stems, with lines of plaited rushes and a heap of tiny clothespins, but no pocket handkerchiefs. But there was something else. A door, straight into the hill, and inside it, someone was singing. "Lily white and clean, oh, with little frills between, oh, smooth and hot, red rusty spot, never here be seen, oh." Lucy knocked. Once, twice, and interrupted the song. A little frightened voice called out, "Who's that?" Lucy opened the door. And what do you think there was inside the hill? A nice clean kitchen with a flagged floor and wooden beams, just like any other farm kitchen. Only the ceiling was so low that Lucy's head nearly touched it. And the pots and pans were small, and so was everything there. There was a nice, hot, singy smell, and at the table, with an iron in her hand, stood a very stout, short person, staring anxiously at Lucy. Her print gown was tucked up, and she was wearing a large apron over her striped petticoat. Her little black nose went sniffle, sniffle, snuffle, and her eyes went twinkle, twinkle. And underneath her cap, where Lucy had yellow curls, that little person had prickles. "Who are you?" said Lucy. "Have you seen my pocket handkins?" The little person made a bob curtsy. "Oh, yes, if you please 'em. My name is Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle. Oh, yes, if you please 'em. I'm an excellent clear starcher." And she took something out of a clothes basket and spread it on the ironing blanket. "What's that thing?" said Lucy. "That's not my pocket handkin." "Oh, no, if you please 'em. That's a little scarlet waistcoat belonging to Cock Robin." And she ironed it and folded it and put it on one side. Then she took something else off a clothes horse. "That isn't my pinny," said Lucy. "Oh, no, if you please 'em. That's a damask tablecloth belonging to Jenny Wren. Look how it's stained with currant wine. It's very bad to wash," said Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's nose went sniffle, sniffle, snuffle, and her eyes went twinkle, twinkle. And she fetched another hot iron from the fire. "There's one of my pocket handkins," cried Lucy. "And there's my pinny." Mrs. Tiggy Winkle ironed it and gophered it and shook out the frills. "Oh, that is lovely," said Lucy. "And what are those long yellow things with fingers like gloves?" "Oh, that's a pair of stockings belonging to Sally Hennypenny. Look how she's worn the heels out with scratching in the yard. She'll very soon go barefoot," said Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. "Why, there's another handkersniff. But it isn't mine, it's red." "Oh, no, if you please 'em. That one belongs to old Mrs. Rabbit, and it did so smell of onions. I've had to wash it separately. I can't get out the smell." "There's another one of mine," said Lucy. "What are those funny little white things?" "That's a pair of mittens belonging to Tabby Kitten. I only have to iron them. She washes them herself." "There's my last pocket handkin," said Lucy. "And what are you dipping into the basin of starch?" "They're little dicky shirt fronts belonging to Tom Titmouse, most terrible particular. said Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Now I've finished my ironing, I'm going to air some clothes. What are these dear soft fluffy things? Said Lucy. Oh, those are woolly coats belonging to the little lambs at Skelgill. Will their jackets take off? Asked Lucy. Oh, yes, if you please 'em. Look at the sheep mark on the shoulder. And here's one marked for Gatesgarth, and 3 that come from Littletown. They're always marked at washing, said Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. And she hung up all sorts and sizes of clothes. Small brown coats of mice, and one velvety black moleskin waistcoat, and a red tailcoat with no tail belonging to Squirrel Nutkin, and a very much shrunk blue jacket belonging to Peter Rabbit, and a petticoat, not marked, that had gone lost in the washing. And at last the basket was empty. Then Mrs. Tiggy Winkle made tea, a cup for herself and a cup for Lucy. They sat before the fire on a bench and looked sideways at one another. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's hand, holding the teacup, was very, very brown, and very, very wrinkly with the soap suds. And all through her gown and her cap there were hairpins sticking wrong end out, so that Lucy didn't like to sit too near her. When they had finished tea, they tied up the clothes in bundles, and Lucy's pocket handkerchiefs were folded up inside her clean pinny and fastened with a silver safety pin. And then they made up the fire with turf, and came out and locked the door, and hid the key under the doorsill. Then away down the hill trotted Lucy and Mrs. Tiggy Winkle with the bundles of clothes. All the way down the path, little animals came out of the fern to meet them. The very first that they met were Peter Rabbit and Benjamin Bunny, and she gave them their nice clean clothes. And all the little animals and birds were so very much obliged to dear Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. So that at the bottom of the hill, when they came to the stile, there was nothing left to carry except Lucy's one little bundle. Lucy scrambled up the stile with the bundle in her hand, and then she turned to say good night and to thank the washerwoman. But what a very odd thing! Mrs. Tiggy Winkle had not waited either for thanks or for the washing bill. She was running, running, running up the hill. And where was her white frilled cap, and her shawl, and her gown, and her petticoat? And how small she had grown, and how brown, and covered with prickles. Why, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle was nothing but a hedgehog. Now some people say that little Lucy had been asleep upon the stile. But then how could she have found 3 clean pocket handkins and a pinny, pinned with a silver safety pin? And besides, I have seen that door into the back of the hill called Cat Bells. And besides, I am very well acquainted with dear Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. The end.
Okay, we're back.
The Tale of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle
Thank
by
you for
Beatrix
indulging me.
Potter.
I need to see Mrs. Tiggy Winkle as a part of this. I hope your sound was good. Mine was terrible, but I was listening to a little earbud instead of the actual narrative. I think the one on YouTube's actually pretty good usually, so I hope yours was good. Okay, are you guys ready to get going? I think the next thing we're going to do is let's take our walk through the software, because I want you to see what you're actually getting with your CD, and I want you guys to be comfortable with using it. So I've got my computer all set up in front of me, and Bryce is going to bring my screen up in front of you now. We're going to close down the other screen so you can see it larger at least. Okay, and that's the biggest we can get it, right?
Well, I believe on their side it's bigger.
Okay. Oh, there we go.
I don't know if that
Oh, it's
does
pretty good.
anything to them.
Okay,
Want to
we're
verify.
going to take a look through the software, but I want you to, first of all, I want to tell you that you're going to put your CD in the CD-ROM drive of your computer. This
Hold on.
one plays on your computer.
We're not
Oh,
hearing you. I don't know if we're going to be forced to show.
so all this time I've been talking to myself.
Oh,
Can you guys hear me?
Evidently there is hearing. It's just
Can you guys hear me okay? Need a 1 or a 2, please. You guys have volume, sound?
it says yes.
Okay, good. All right. So we're going to start by putting you don't need to do this now. I'm just going to take you on a tour of the software. But what I wanted to tell you how to go ahead and get this started. You'll put your CD in the CD-ROM of your computer. Excuse me. And a lot of times when you do that, you'll have a box that pops up that gives you the opportunity to start it automatically. If it does not start automatically, then you'll want to, you'll need to look at your your D drive. It's usually in your D drive, and there will be a choice of several files that you can open. One of those is purple. It has a little purple icon, and it says Crafter's Companion Application. You'll click on that, and it's going to open up to this screen right here. If you have any trouble getting it started, when you go to start it, call me, and I can walk you through that. But it's not something I could show you without having to set up like 15 windows. So if you follow those instructions, I think you'll be okay. But if you need extra help, then call me and I can get you started. But once you open the application, you're going to end up on this screen. This is your home screen. And this tells you everything that your Beatrix Potter software can do. So let's take a look at what we've got. Let's start by looking at the image sheets, because these are what you're expecting. The image sheets are the sheets that have the toppers for Beatrix Potter. So let's just look at one of those. This is gonna, when I click on it, it's gonna open up and it's gonna show me which images I have. And you'll see these images are true to the Beatrix Potter video we just watched. So here's our first one. Now I want to go back. See my go back arrow here? I want to go back one page, and I'm going to open design number 2. I click on it, and it brings up my next set of images that I have available as toppers. And the next thing we're going to do is go back. Oh, I want to talk about one thing while I'm here. If you wanted to print this now, if you have European A4 paper, you can print this image. But if you have 8.5 by 11 paper in your printer, it's going to cut the bottom of the images off, unless, come over here where it says print size, select a size and tell it mid-size. See how it's going to make everything just a little bit smaller, and now all the images will print on a single page. And you won't have that bottom cut off. So this is a really, really useful thing. Can you hit that down arrow so I can see what's happening? Okay. I'm going to go back. Let's look at design 3. More of our toppers. You basically have all of the original artwork in, I believe we have all of the original artwork in toppers, although I didn't compare it image for image. I'm going to hit mid-size when I go to print them so that I get a nice wide border around it and the full images will print. Okay, go back, pick image 4. Beautiful, beautiful images. Go back, and again, if I wanted to print it, I'd hit that mid-size. I know I keep saying that, but that's really super important, or it cuts off the bottom of your images. Go to design 5. You're beginning to get an idea just how many images you have on this CD. Lots. Okay, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to hit the 6th design sheet. Okay, from here, let's go and see some of the other things we have on our CD. Now, at any point in time, you can hit home and it will take you back to that beginning screen. Let's look at some of the other things we have. It's just amazing what's on here. Let's look at design sets. Design sets is kind of like background papers. These are things that you can print in a variety of different ways. So let's just choose one here. Let's choose design 2. Once I have the design, I can choose what color I want to use. And so the backgrounds are done in a variety of colors. In all cases, Mrs. Tiggy Winkle is going to be brown, but your background color is going to be slightly different. I can tell it I want to make a backing paper, and it will print that image repeatedly on one sheet of paper. Okay, go back, and let's click on that backing papers and say, what else can this do? If I want to print an envelope, I can. Now, you might not see an envelope here, but picture printing this, cut the bottom of this paper off, and you can see here that you have the top flap. You would have a triangle here, which represents the bottom flap, and you have 2 sides. So what you get is an envelope with Mrs. Tiggy Winkle on the front of it. You have to practice that one a little bit to perhaps see it entirely, but I just wanted you to know it's there. Let's go back. Let's see what else we can get. You can actually create your own note paper with Mrs. Tiggy Winkle around the border for handwritten notes or computer-generated notes. So there we go. You would want to use lighter weight paper for your envelopes, Ruth Ann, just copy paper weight. And you would probably want to use copy paper weight for this one if you were printing just note paper. Isn't that charming, though, for handwritten notes? Or you see over here where it says Verse Writer? Click to show. It actually creates a dialog box where you can type in a message that you want to have on your note paper. So if I wanted to say, from the desk of and I probably would make that a little bit bigger. Whoops. I can still correct my typos. I told you guys I almost failed typing. From the desk of Debbie. And now I could print that. And when I print it, and there's a million different fonts and things you can use too, which is pretty cool. I can put it in different fonts. We won't go through all that, but I just wanted you to know it's there. And you can right justify, center justify, left justify. If I get this just the way I want it and I want to be able to make more, I can hit this little save button and save it to my computer with all the features that I've chosen. When I go to select print options, I'm going to resize position. Oh, wait a minute. Let's see, select a size. I'm going to select a size. Yeah, I am. Now let's say you wanted to make you wanted to cut this up and make some little notepads. You can print this in different sizes too. So it's really cute. All right, let's get out of this. Go back. I'm going to click on that note paper again because I'm going to change that. Here I can print inserts in different sizes. This one right here assumes that I'm going to print an A5 card, which is half of an A4 piece of paper. You can see that there's my blank side and my fold line, and this would be on my right side, right? So you can print your own inserts. And once again, we have a dialog box, so you can type your message right into the insert if you want to. There's different sizes that you can do. So if I'm working on an A6, which is what we usually would be doing, I can move it up and I can make an insert for an A6 paper. So it will be half, using half of the A4. And then, of course, it gets folded in half again to become an A6. Let's go back. I know I'm going through this fast. I just want you to know the features that are out there. I'm going to click on that inserts again to change. I can make the most adorable little tags. Let's go back and click on tags again. I can actually make a pillow box. This one I would probably want to print on like 250 GSM paper. Okay. Everybody tracking okay? All right, let's go back. In fact, we're going to go home. Now this next one gives me the opportunity to alter the colors on that last page. So if I go back to this design 2, which we used last time, I can alter my colors by using these little toggles. See that? I can completely change the tone of my image. What I used in your packet when I did this is I wanted to create a Mrs. Tiggy Winkle that had a very soft image for our insert. So I took a lot of the color out, and then I adjusted the light up, which I can do with this toggle. You can experiment, it won't hurt a thing, but I brought the light way up so that I had my Mrs. Tiggy Winkle faded in, but I got rid of most of the background. So that's just kind of neat that you have the ability to do that stuff. So let's go back to home. And this next page I really liked, and I used it a lot. This is some of our coordinating papers. Now these are the ones I'm going to put in behind my images when I print my topper sheets. So you've got lots of beautiful designs, and you've got lots of designs that can be done in different colors. So let's choose this one, for example. This is kind of a modeled print, and I love it. I think it's wonderful. I love the way that they use different colors and kind of mix it up. See that? Isn't that beautiful?
40 minutes. Yeah.
And you can, select from a number of different colors. Let me go back one page. You can select from a number of different colors to get a color palette you like. Now, one of the things I love about this is you're going to be able to print background papers not only for Mrs. Tiggy Winkle, you can create backgrounds for an enormous number of things using this software. See that? Look at that. They don't come any prettier than that. Now, I do need to tell you that sometimes the colors will come out a little bit different than what the colors are that you see on screen. That's just in the software. It is what it is, but they're really still quite beautiful. So think about how you might be able to use these in your other crafting, and they're so easy to do. And once again, when I go to print it, I can select my size and tell my printer how big I want my background sheet to be. If I, for whatever reason, want to make this smaller, I can take these lines and I can actually drag them to make this just the size I want. Why would you want to do that? Well, if you have HP ink and you're not paying for your ink, I'm not sure you would want to. You'd probably print your whole sheet. But if you're not using HP ink and ink is expensive, then you could print just the amount of the sheet that you wanted. So that's why I can see using that. Okay, we're going to go back. I got to step it up a little here. But you have all these patterns, and all of these patterns can be printed in different color schemes. And some of them are just fabulous. So imagine what all you can do with this. Wow. You're going to see some of these background sheets in the packet in the sample packet that I printed for you. Okay, let's go back. Well, actually, let's go home. I just wanted you to see those background sheets. They're fabulous, and you have so many color choices that you can literally have hundreds of different combinations there. Here's alphabets. Let's say you want to channel your inner Margie and you want to make letters for a banner. You can make beautiful, wonderful alphabets. It is primarily these one styles where you have the same style in either capital letters or smaller letters, but you can choose the size and you can choose just the letters you want to print. See that? Right now it's set to print all of them. But if I wanted to create a banner that said happy birthday, I could put in happy birthday, and right now if I said print, it's going to print the letters in that size, and it's going to print enough sheets to actually print out all of the letters for happy birthday. one print of each. If I wanted to make them smaller, I can do that, and I can get multiple letters per sheet by selecting a different size of the letters. And it's going to print less sheets. Whoops, that's not what I want.
Number 5 gave us it all to one page.
So I can get my letters any size I want. Okay, let's go home. And we've got these beautiful border sheets. I use these borders both as borders, and I use them as background sheets because they're gorgeous. Let's choose this design 3. And then I can do that. I can do, I'm trying to watch it over there instead of on my computer. It would be way faster. Look at all the colors I can do that in, guys. And when I finally select it, it's going to bring up all the different, any number of different colors. Okay? So lots and lots of borders. I still have a few things left to show you. I don't know how many of you are into tea bags, but we have 6 different styles of tea bag art, and each of those can be done in lots of different colors. We can make tags in different designs. We can go to decoupage, and here's where a couple of your images have come from. In our decoupage sheets, you have 9 different decoupage sheets in your system. And these are where our decoupage images come from. Make sure, remember, go to select a size and hit mid-size so that it doesn't cut off your images on the bottom.
Ruthann asked if you can explain tea bag.
Yes, have you ever done tea bag folding, Ruthann? The tea bag papers are for a technique called tea bag folding. And if you guys would like to do that sometime, I'd be happy to do that with you. Tea bag folding's a lot of fun. It's a very, very different kind of art form where it actually originated because people used to, in England and in Europe, they had tea bags that were packaged in beautiful papers, and people hated to throw those away. So they saved their tea bag papers, and then they started cutting them up, and they started some folding and gluing techniques that turned those into wonderful medallions and things. We use it with regular paper because our tea bags are pretty dull by comparison. But that's tea bag folding. I'll be happy to show you some. Okay, we've got frames. Oh, I love this one. If I had seen this one before I did all of your images, we would have had one of these. But look at these. We have 9 different tag designs. And what they are is decoupage sheets. They're decoupage sheets contained in beautiful frames. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Once again, when you go to print those, select a size, do that mid-size. Otherwise, you're going to have the disappointment of those bottom images being chopped off, and you don't want that. But you have 9 more different decoupage images, and each one of those sheets do 2. You got 9 different ones there in the frame section. Sentiments are not just sheets of sentiments. They're images with words on them. And some of them actually are tags. So once again, we're bringing that imagery into it, and we get beautiful, beautiful, beautiful tag designs. And if we look back at that, you have 4 sheets of tags, And then I want to come down here. This is actually a little different. This here creates artist trading cards with matching envelopes. Isn't that fun? You make your own artist trading cards with little envelopes.
We're now at 50 minutes.
Okay. Next up, we're going to go back, and one of your sheets that's in your packet, because we're going to use the art from that, is a waterfall card. Here's a basic waterfall template that you can use if you don't want to do the great big ones that we're doing. Here's a littler one, and we actually are going to use the art off of this on ours. Okay, I got to hurry because we got to get into our project here. There's just so much to see. Pyramid images. These, we are doing one of these. These are images that you cut out and layer like decoupage, except that instead of gluing little pieces of it together, you are using your foam squares between discs of varying sizes where the images are all the same size, and you end up having a layered up image with a very different impression. This is what this one would look like, if you can see that. Okay, so you have on that page, you have 9 different pyramid images. So if you think about the number of decoupage images we saw, the number of pyramid images we saw, then you add in the ones that we saw on the frame sheet. There are a huge number of projects on this disc. Let's go home. We've seen our image. Our verse writer can be opened as its own page as well. And then this one, unfortunately, I'm not able to go clear into, but when you explore your CD, I implore you to go in and open these. These are some card designs that have been developed by the Crafter's Companion people. And there's 3 designs. I don't know what'll happen if I do this, so let me try it. Oh, good. Okay, so I could see one more. There are 3 designs that are put together by the Crafter's Companion people that are considered beginners images. And if I go back one page, there are 3 more. And you know, I didn't see a lot of difference, honestly, between the advanced and the beginners images. I will say that when I looked at the actual, it won't open that one for me. When I opened the actual projects, they have they're referring you to a lot of old Crafter's Companion products. Don't get tied up in the name of the product and trying to find their specific product. Just use something that is similar. And once again, I can help you if you get caught up in trying to understand what they're talking about with something. But there are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful project designs. So I hope you can see that in this disc that you just have purchased, you have just an amazing wealth of information that's available to you. And let's go ahead and get started on our card designs because we have a lot to do there too. But I hope this was helpful going through and learning how to navigate this. I hope that was somewhat helpful, guys. Whew. We've done lots already. We've already seen our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle video. We've taken our tour of the software. Now we're going to go ahead and get started on our designs. Can everybody still hear me okay? Sometimes when we change screens, I want to make sure that you can still hear me. Can you hear all right? Okay. We're going to, if you have cut out your decoupage while we were watching some of that, you probably may be ahead of me. But I'm going to take a second and I'm going to layer up some of my images here. that I did get cut out. There is so much to see on that CD. When you start going through and looking at it, you're just going to be amazed at what you get. There is so much there. Remember when I told you that I pulled these discs out and looked at them because I wanted to make sure they weren't obsolete? They absolutely, most certainly are not obsolete. The foam squares we put, at least in my kit, are 1/2-inch foam squares. So that's cool. Did we mean to get 1/2-inch foam squares? I don't know.
Who only knows?
For the smaller pieces, I might have to cut them, but for the bigger pieces, I'll have a whole lot less peeling of paper to do. So you might be getting an opportunity to try that. So anyway, I hope you guys liked seeing the software.
I almost think you did a great job this one.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, layer this up just like we would the punch outs that we do. Except these require a little fussy cutting. But you saw if you were cutting this up, the fussy cutting is not difficult on these. It's actually pretty easy to do. Okay, so we're layering up our first image here. There's nothing particular about doing this one. It's just happened to be the one that was first in line. May or may not do our cards in this order, but wasn't it nice if Bryce could figure out a way that we could share the screen and show you both the video and that? I hope you found the video fun. I thought that starting with Mrs. Tiggy Winkle just seemed particularly appropriate so that you could both understand the story and that you could see that the imagery we're working with is truly, genuinely the original to the Beatrix Potter stories. I don't know. Like I said, somehow it just kind of takes you back to your childhood, and we all need that sometimes. Okay. Well, maybe Kim and Kelly can watch the Beatrix Potter video later, and then they'll be just totally enchanted with the cards that you're making. And they actually, if you, depending on which ones you're doing, they could do some of these. And Betty McSorley and your grandkids, I can see the kids just really getting a kick out of this. Our friend Fiona. Okay, so you can see that this actually layers up with a pretty high level of dimension. Isn't that pretty? And you really get a scope of the image that way. Okay, I'm done with that one. I don't think I finished this one, but I'm going to have to finish it real quickly here. Okay, got this part done. Did you guys have good sound on the Mrs. Tiggy Winkle video? If not, you can go back out to YouTube and watch it directly because the sound in a direct connection is really good. I hope your sound was good.
People mentioned it was a little bit light, but they could hear.
A little bit light, but you could hear it? Good.
Thank you.
Good. I'm glad. Excellent. Okay, we've got our little ironing job going here. Tiggy Winkle. Okay. Yeah, the fussy cutting's not bad at all on these guys. Remember, bring the paper to you. You get a lot more control if you bring the paper to the scissors instead of the scissors to the paper. So just turn your paper as you go and you can actually cut more quickly and with better control than you can by trying to take your scissors around and around. Just turn your paper in and out. Those of you who are having hand troubles right now might find this difficult. Grab some of those kids that hubby, let them cut it out for you. I'm sure that your husband wouldn't mind at all doing that, Patrice. If you find that you're totally in love with the CD and that you desire to get more of them, we still have about 4 or 5 titles out there in the store. There used to be 10 in the series and a bunch of them are now sold out, but we do still have 4 or 5 of them. If you wanted to send them a link, that might be good, honey.
Where are they in the store?
They're under, go to books and CDs under paper crafting A to Z. And then Mrs. Beatrix Potter has her own section there. CDs, yeah, that's it. And then Beatrix Potter, I believe, has her own section in there. Yeah. Oh, go to paper crafting CDs then. See right under there. It has craft books, paper craft. It's open already. It's in red. There you go. And look in there. Let's see if they're not there. I think there's another place I can send you if they're not in here. Okay, skip this. This is too involved. Go down to occasions and themes. And choose, it's clear way down the page. And when you get down to themes and occasions, choose Beatrix Potter. And this will have the stamps and the CDs on this page. Hi, Diane. I don't think I ever said hi officially, Kim. Hello, Kim. I know you've been there for a while, but. And Roberta. Hello, Roberta. And Mary and Mary. I have your replacement parts for the kits that you requested, Betty Goswell and Mary. I just need to know if you want me to send them. You'll have some postage. If you want to have them included in your next order, I can do that free of charge. So I just need to know what you want me to do.
Ruthann loves the little extra stamp. Yep.
Oh, I'm glad you like it, Ruth Ann. Isn't it pretty? So detailed. We have more stamps in the Beatrix Potter area too. But it was pretty and I had a bunch of them, so I thought, why not just give them that with the kit? Because that would be fun. All of these materials that we're looking at from Beatrix Potter, you might see something used on eBay, but you won't see anything new from anybody in the US because I bought out Crafter's Companion when they discontinued this line because I thought they were beautiful and they made me an offer to take them all and I took them up on it.
Oh, Betty and Mary say wait for the next order.
Okay, good. I just didn't want you guys to be waiting on me and me sitting here on top of your supplies. But sometimes it's best to just ask. Okay, sorry to be taking your time while I'm fussy cutting, but I didn't get it finished during the video. The other one that we're doing, the pyramid, that's really easy fussy cutting because I'm just cutting around the shapes, but this one takes a little bit longer, although it's not bad. Not bad at all. So I'm just going to get all my layering done at one time here, and then we'll forge ahead. Hi, Karen. Welcome, friend. Your kit hasn't shown up yet? I'm sorry, Diane. The post office is being terrible right now. Really terrible. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. But the cost of shipping via other methods is cost prohibitive. So we're stuck with the USPS for now because so many of our packages are under £1 that it would automatically take our cost of shipping up into the ozone to try and ship everything via other methods.
Diana, is there any way else if there's any way to check on its status?
Yes. Email me at info@simplyspecialcrafts, Diane, to remind me to do it, and I will send you the tracking information. We have a tracking number for every order that goes out. Unfortunately, our software does not populate that tracking number automatically, but I do have tracking on all packages that go out. We can check on that, and we can, if necessary, inquire as to the status of the package and ask them to email us. Sometimes that knocks them loose and gets them moving. I can't actually formally trace a package with the U.S. Postal Service until it's been missing for 60 days, believe it or not. 60 days, and I actually think that might have been recently extended to 90. I'm never going to make you wait that long. If your package hasn't arrived in a somewhat reasonable period of time, we reship it, and then we work it out when the package shows up after you already have one. Okay, I'm going to layer out this adorable little piece. I think I only have one piece left, guys. Thanks for your patience with me. Takes a minute sometimes. I know that when you guys are working with me, it's a little unfair for me to cut these things out in advance because then I'm resourcing ahead of you. So I'm thinking that a few of you at least might be working with me today. How many people are working with me, and how many of you are just watching and coming back later to do it? Give me just an hour later if you would. Or a 1 for now and 2 for later. I don't want to interrupt your cutting if you're cutting. Later, okay. Oh, I'm sorry that it sounds like Patrice's husband got hurt. I'm sorry, Patrice. Gosh darn it. These half-inch foam squares are really cool, I gotta say. I like them. Okay. All right, we got our 2 layering pieces done. And then we've got our pyramid to do. That's going to be really quick because that is just pretty much straight cutting. In fact, I think I'll go ahead and do it just to have it done so we don't have to stop and do this again. Okay, when you do the pyramid, we're literally just cutting out squares, so this is super fast. Part 1 done. Part 2 done. Part 3. This is what's called a square twister card. What we're going to do with the twister is we're going to just keep matching the image no matter which way the piece turns. And we're going to end up with a fun twist pattern in our finished image. Have you guys done pyramid before? You guys gotta stop hurting your hands. Man, that's too many hand injuries in one household, Patrice.
Yeah, but they both don't have to do the dishes.
That's a long ways to go to get out of dishes, I gotta say. Okay. This is the funnest project I've purchased from you. I can't wait. I can't wait to get to it. Oh, where are you? Where is this? Oh, Kathy. Okay. Or like on Green Acres. Yeah. Where she's throwing them out the window. I remember that. I guess your husband won't be trimming your pieces out for you. Okay. I can't wait for some feedback when you guys start using that CD. You got to tell me about your experiences when you go to use it, because it's just so rich. Oh my gosh. Fun. Okay. Now let's pay attention to what we're doing here. We're going to layer these up, but we're going to twist it slightly each time we put it on. Boy, I like these big squares. I think I've said that a time or two, but it's because I really like these big squares. I like them.
Using them for years.
Huh?
You fought using them for years.
I know, because the others are cheaper, but you know, well, they actually cost the same amount. So if you use less of them, I suppose that's the same. Okay, so I'm going to match my image no matter what the orientation of my paper is.
I was hoping for a special guest appearance.
Oh, our special guest is over here sleeping. After we get done layering these up and we're ready to move to our cards, that probably would be a good chance to get a little slurp of pop and a quick Teddy visit. And there's no worrying about which, whether or not you have the right image, because they've got the numbers just emblazoned in the middle of these. Two. So I'm just getting ready to put on number 3. And number 3 is going to turn a little bit more. Just match the colors. The most important one to match is the face. If you match the face first, everything else kind of falls in order. So it's turning a little bit as I work. Number 4. I'm going to end up having just about the right number of foam squares in here with these big ones, because we use up the sheet faster, which is okay. A Teddy cam. I remember telling you last time I'd get a quick peek at Ted, and then we moved on and I forgot until the video was over. Oops. He's a sleepy boy today. He'll be glad when spring officially hits and Bryson. Oh, that's sweet. Bryce and Lauren are down doing their garden and stuff. He'll be glad when they're in the yard and he can play and chase around with them. Okay, we're on number 6. And my friends won't let you forget me this time. Good point. There's power in numbers. Now, there'll be no Mary abuse. The images are spectacular in this. They just really are. The little line drawings, you know. Back in the days, I don't know if you've seen that that Beatrix Potter movie. There's a movie out there. I don't remember what it's called. I wish I remembered what it's called. Maybe one of you guys knows. The Beatrix Potter movie that was done is really, really charming, talking about the challenges she faced as a woman author in the era in which she wrote these books. Maybe one of you knows the name of that movie. Maybe we could search it otherwise. It's really good, though. The disc, Maria, replay this, and I took you on a full tour of the disc. So I think you're going to be great when you have a chance to look at the disc together with me in the video. You're going to be fine. Mrs. Potter, is that what it's called? That sounds right, doesn't it? Great, great movie. I take for granted the opportunities that we have available today, but it wasn't always that easy. Okay, here we go. Here's our pyramid. You see it? All the little twists and layers. That's what it looks like from the side. This is either going to be a hand deliver or card box item because of the number of layers. Thank you, Kathy. That was a wonderful movie. Okay, let's get going on some cards here, shall we? We got our 3-layered images ready to go. We have explored our DVD. We have watched our video. Now it's time to create something. Let's create something, darn it. Okay, let's do that pyramid one first. This is going to be our first creation today. So let's get one of our 6x6 cards. We're going to want one of your larger pieces of mirror board. We're going to want some background paper out of our kit, and we're going to want our sentiment sheet out of our kit. So let's get, this happens to have been one of the sheets that I showed you on the computer. Look how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh, it's pretty. And our Get Well Soon tag is on this sentiment sheet. So let's start by covering our card. We'll put down our 3 pieces of, you know what? I think we better tie some bows and get some glue on there. Let's tie some bows real quick here. I know, I keep telling you, we're really going to do the cards, but we are going to tie some bows. This one is just strictly a glue on. This is our soft yellow. Boy, I love this. These are now available in the store to those of you who have been asking. The satins, the thinner satins are now in there, and they are so reasonably priced you won't believe it. 25 yards, and they're, what, $3.49 maybe?
Maybe.
$2.99, $3.49, something like that. It's very, very good. I'm going to tie this on a 5. I'm going to do a 5, 6, 5 on my MIDI comb. Oops. That is, if I grab the right peg, I am. I'm going to, those of you who have just gone through bow class, how exciting. We're going to just tie this up in something spectacular. Lots of people went through bow class. Well, somebody's going to be heard from. He was supposed to make a cameo appearance there between things. It's probably a good time to grab him. Here he comes. Here he comes. Hi. Hi, buddy. Hi, buddy. Say hi to Mary. Say hi to Mary. All right, give it a big yawn. Yes. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Oh, he hears a dog barking. He said, oh, my. There's a dog barking somewhere. I should bark back. I should bark back. Yeah, Teddy Cujo. Teddy Cujo. Say hi, Teddy. Can you say hi, Mary? Hi, Betty. Hi, Kim. Hi, Roberta. Teddy Cujo. My little Cujo buddy. Yes, he just can't help himself. He gets anywhere close to your face, the kissing starts. There's my buddy. Yes. There he is. There he is. Okay, you want to go back and get about your barking? He's sending you love. That's right. He's sending you love. Okay. Hello. Well, hello. He said, oh, by the way, hi, Mom. Hi, Mom. Okay. Pussy Daddy. Pussy Daddy. Okay. Slide a ribbon off. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's surprising how full these bows turn out with this ribbon that's just 4/10 wide, but you know, you get almost as much fullness as you get with the 1/2 inch, because I guess it's almost a 1/2 inch, isn't it? So it's surprising to me how much more fullness you get than you do with a 3/8 inch wide. It just appears to be way fuller. Pretty and so easy. Got my best glue out here. Can get a little bit on this ribbon so I can get processing. Just a little bit, remember. Fine line will get her done just as well as a big glob will. And it won't soak through like a big glob would, so keep it light. You want it to dry sometime in the current century. Okay, we want a blue one. Okay. Poor Teddy, he leads such an abused life, you know. He really has it rough, that guy. 6, I'm going to tie 5, 6, 5. Well, actually, I'm going to go one smaller because this particular one I used a little bit smaller bow. So I'm going to do a 4, 5, 4, I think. 4, 5. Remember, we're picking up just one peg now. 5, 4. It's amazing how fast you can tie absolutely gorgeous bows when you learn how and get used to doing it. It is a fast, painless process. I am going to turn my satin so that when I tie my half knot, my not so shiny side is up. It's nice to use double face ribbon, but it's so much more expensive that single face, for our purposes, as long as you get used to twisting your ribbon, is a much better value for what we're doing. cut myself some little whale tails here. Quick swig of Diet Coke. The drink of champions. Keep your extra piece of this because we have a little wraparound at the top of our card with our extra piece. Let me get to this one.
Dan says she has a box of fabulous bows since the box class.
Oh, yay! May be able to grab one out of there to do this. My friend, I tend to like to create my bows as I go. So I have a lot of bows left after bow class. So my friend Lisa keeps track of my schedule and what I'm up to. And every time we have a bow class, she schedules a visit. Well, it shouldn't come in right now, but she does drop by to pick up the bows that I leave out for her. Because we do have some show and tell today. I'm looking for the Twilight Under the Sea little book. Do you have any left? Can you look, honey? Look under collections and Twilight Under the Sea. You can tell Roberta if we have any of those. I think I'm going to go a little bit smaller again on this one. I'm going to do a 454 once again on the pink because this is going on a smaller card. So we now have this pink in a smaller size also, this organza. And again, to find those collections in the store when you're looking for a particular collection like that, go to Hunky Dory, and the very first tab under Hunky Dory says Collections, and then from there, things are broken up into 3 sections. There are Hunky Dory Christmas, most recent collections, and prior collections. And Twilight Under the Sea will be in prior collections because it's not a new release. And then they're in there alphabetically. So he's going clear down towards the bottom with Twilight Under the Sea. There's still a lot of, not a lot, but 5 3D topper sets left, but it looks like the little book may be gone. Scroll up again. Yeah, it looks like the little book may be gone. It looks like we have 3 of the 3-piece collections yet left. And did we actually have a full topper set there? A full, yeah. We still have a full topper set, and we have inserts left. And it looked like we had some acetate left. But it does not appear that we have the Twilight Under the Sea little book left, Roberta.
Ruth Ann asks, she says she's been working on your classes from Craft Organza. Will you be doing that again for 2021?
Yes. We do Craft Organza every year. The last year was the first year that I did all 4 collections because Margie stepped in to help me get those all done. But I always do at least some of the collections. And once again this year, if you buy it from us, the videos are going to be free. If you buy it elsewhere, you're still welcome to get the videos, but it's going to cost you a little bit.
She wants to know when. She needs to start budgeting.
We usually see the very first signs of Craft Organza the end of April. And Craft Organza comes out in either late May or the 1st of June. Yes, I have to start budgeting too, because that is a major expense to bring in Craftaganza. It is a monster expense. My shipping alone for that will be over $3,000. So yeah, it's a biggie. I do have a bunch of stuff on the shipping platform of Hunky Dory right now, and I have to just get my shipping paid on that, speaking of big shipping bills. And that will be winging its way to us, so we have a bunch of new Hunky Dory coming. Lots and lots, including our spring and Easter stuff. So I will get that coming to us soon. Okay, I've covered my 6x6 card with my Miri. I'm going to get this page out, and I'm going to trim the borders off it first so I get an accurate measure. Trim off the sides. I love this color of this background paper. I think it's just stunning. Okay, and my background, my card is 6x6, and I want to leave some borders showing, so I'm going to make this 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. And we will attach, I think I want it just a little bit, a tiny bit more off the edge. Just a tiny bit off. Just looked a little too tight on one side. But that's looking good. Well, I'm going to put my tape flags on it and put this down. Oh, what did I just do? I just peeled my tape off before I did my tape flag. Well, peel that side down a little. Peel this side down a little. Oh, one of you was asking about the tape. And you were saying that you're having some trouble when you go to do your tape flags in being able to get the tape to loosen at the end of your tape flag. I got a couple bits of advice for you. If that tape is being pesky right at the end, you might be being a little too gentle with it. So one suggestion I have is pull harder. Sometimes it still just wants to lift at the end. If it does, shake it a little bit. Sometimes you can shake it loose. And if that doesn't do it, get your tweezers or the tip of your sharp edge scissors and just kind of get in between there. Hold that tape down and pull the tape back. Now I know that's a pain. Normally I would say if it's sticky or if it's trying to lift the ends of your tape, just tear it in the middle and go both ways. But if you're trying to use tape flags, that rather kind of disrupts your purpose. Although you can do that, you can actually tear it in the middle and start your tape flags both directions, which is another option. But if it's giving you trouble, try shaking it a little bit. Sometimes I find that if I shake it a little bit, I can loosen that tape from the paper. And then sometimes I just stick my tweezers in between the two and peel it up. I will tell you that with practice, all of this is just going to become second nature. If you're not used to using this tape, it will take a little bit to make it your adhesive of choice. But when you get back used to it, you will never, ever go back. Normally, if you're not using tape flags, and a piece of tape is being pesky and trying to lift at the end, rub it down good. And if that doesn't work, just stop trying to lift it there, go clear to the middle, tear the tape in the middle and pull it back both directions. Okay, so we've got a perfectly centered square on our mirror board. Now we're going to take our pyramid image. It's pyramid or pyramide, depends on who you're talking to. And I say it both ways because I don't know what's right or wrong. I just know what I do. I'm going to put my pyramid on my mirror, and I'm going to trim around that. And I'll tell you why I think this is a good idea. You see how these backgrounds are likely to just blend without the, it's too close? Without the mirror board on there, the backgrounds kind of blend together and you lose something. But if you put the mirror on the back of the pyramid image, it pops and it looks terrific. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a little tape on the back of here.
You found like your new headset much easier to hear.
Oh, I'm glad. Thank you for the feedback. We're actually looking at getting a different camera too, maybe. And we just keep looking for ways to make the streams better and better. So, okay. So if this tape was giving me a hard time, let's try peeling it. If the tape's giving me a hard time, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of shake it and see if I can shake it loose. And a lot of times that will be enough to lift it. If it's still trying to grab the tape and I just can't seem to get it off, reach in there with your tweezers, kind of hold the tape part down and peel your tape back. It sounds like there's lots of problems with this. There really isn't. You just got to get used to doing it. And you will get used to peeling these papers. Once you get, like I said before, once you get used to this tape, you're never going to want to use anything else. But it does take, maybe it's like every other acquired skill. It sometimes takes a little bit to get used to using something different. But
Working on says Oregon's entirely too far for me to travel weekly for classes. COVID or not.
But we keep trying to make the streams better and better because once COVID is over, it's our plan to keep these classes happening as long as you guys are out there and you're supporting the store with sales. I don't see any reason why we would want to not do these classes since I love you guys and I love working with you. I think you're great fun. And it's your purchases store, so it just kind of works out well for everybody, I think, to do these. So when I put this on here, I first put it on this way, and I thought, it just lacking a little something. So then I turned it, and I thought with this pyramid image, it was perfect to just get a little twist on it. I'm going to put a few foam squares under here, just because, why not? I'm going to put just a little bit of extra. Yeah, if you haven't given us a thumbs up yet and you're liking this video today and you're finding it useful, I sure would appreciate it if you give me a thumbs up. Not only does it help our YouTube statistics and help more people find us, it makes me feel good. If you're not a subscriber to our videos, hit that little subscribe button. That too helps our statistics in YouTube, and it'll make sure that you never miss an episode. So you want to do that because you owe it to yourself to do that. So if you hit the little bell icon, it will actually send you a notice when a new video has been posted. Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to turn it just about the same amount from the last image that the others were twisting, maybe just a little bit. Now I'm going to cut out my Get Well Soon off of my sentiment sheet. I'm going to come in here and get this one with the bolder green border, the Get Well Soon. I'm going to cut this out. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as being able to die cut these images. Well, there really is if you're truly a master of silhouette. If you're using electronic die cutting machine Silhouette, you can actually set this up to die cut these for you. I am not a master of the art. Margie is. And sometimes when Margie does kits for her banner classes, she sets everything up and mass produces it using her Silhouette and actually has her machine do all her die cutting. So her class participants don't have to. Unfortunate for you, I'm not that good. I don't even have a Silhouette machine. I do have a Cricut. I love my Cricut machine. What is she on restriction for?
Buying too much Simply Special Crafts.
Oh. Well, I'd like to say I feel bad, but I don't. I really don't, guys. I lay awake nights finding ways to tempt you. Okay. I put my Get Well Soon on one of my scraps of my Mary. And I'm just bordering that so that it will match my other pieces. And I'm going to put that right down here. I think I'll put it on some foam squares immediately below my image. Last time I kind of tipped it up on my image, but I got my image a lot lower last time. The first time I did this, I printed it in A4 size. And the second time I printed it in that mid size, you know, that I was showing you that you can get the whole page on 8.5 by 11. So, this image is going to be a little bit smaller. I'll show you. You probably already noticed that, but I'll show you the two side by side. One is printed on A4 and the other is printed and the other is printed using that mid setting. Okay, hopefully by now our first bow is done. Let's see. Oh, that's looking good. Okay, so I think I'll pull my tails kind of out to the side on this one because I don't want it to go down over my image much. I'm going to put it up here. Here we go, guys. Oops. This is done. And here's the first one. Whoops. I still have problems figuring out which way is up with this camera. I have to go exactly the opposite way. So see, this second one's a little smaller when I print it with the mid button. The first one, the elements have to be kind of squished together a little bit more because the image itself is bigger. But isn't it fabulous? Now, I have a confession to make. I do this so often. Look what I did. But you guys remember what I do when I do that? I'm going to fold this thing in half. I'm going to put a stopper on it, and I'm going to swear I did it on purpose. Only you, me, and 3,000 of our friends are going to know the difference. Yep, I did it again. You know, it's so easy to do when you're talking and working your way through. That's my only excuse, really. Now, I did line this. What did I line it with? I can still do that. I'm not going to worry about lining this yet, though, because I will show you how I lined it. And you can certainly do that. But we got 2 more cards to get through, and one of them's fairly complicated. So I think I'm going to stop there on this one for now. If we have time, I'll come back and line them. But don't forget, you really can turn that into a specialty card that looks great. And we'll just put a stopper on the back, put a border across here, a stopper there, and it's fabulous. It's an easel card. Yeah, it's just an easel card. Bryce is laughing at me. Goofy girl. And yes, I am. I certainly am sometimes. Okay, let's do this one. We got our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. For this one, we're going to need our 6x6 cardstock. We are going to need our black onyx paper. Now, I want you to notice something about this one. When I did this one, I left a white border around it. And I think it looks fabulous that way with black against the white. So I'm going to do that again. I have a 6x6 card, and I'm going to cut my black down slightly. So I'm going to set these off to the side somewhere so I can use my paper cutter again. I'm going to cut this to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4 to start with. And I'm going to mount this onto my card. This time I can use glue because I am not.
Aren't you wrapping your ribbon around that black?
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
So I'm not going to glue that. Thank you. I actually could wrap it on the other piece too, but I'm going to wrap it on both because that'll give me a little more strength. Okay. Your background for this is going to be this page right here. I actually took this writing page out of another kit that I had sitting here without thinking, but this is what I gave you to substitute for this paper in this kit. So I'm going to cut this one down to glue onto my black.
What animal is Mrs. Tiggy Winkle?
Excuse me?
What animal is Mrs.
She's a hedgehog.
And Brenda asked, how many layers are on this image?
This image that we're coming up to do, this one? I think there are, I could have told you a minute ago. I think there's 8. There's 8 pieces in total, but it's not 8 layers high. It's 1, 2, 3. It's 6 layers high, and there's a total of 8 pieces, I think. Okay. Yes, hedgehogs just roam the garden in Great Britain. Here they're considered an exotic pet. There they're considered a garden. I don't know if they're a rodent. I call Jordan's, no, they're not a rodent. They're actually officially something else. I call Jordan's hedgehog a rodent, but he isn't really. He has another name. I don't remember what it's called. Okay, I'm cutting this piece after I trim my edges so I can get accurate measures. I'm trimming this piece to 5.5 by 5.5 because it's going to layer on top of this black. And that's going to be a really nice border. I think you could see that in your camera. And I'm going to glue this down because there's no mirror here, so glue will handle this piece just fine. I'm just putting a little squiggle of glue all the way around the outside, which will be plenty to hold that. I'll set it down here, and then I will slide it around a bit until I get my perfect border, or as perfect as they ever get. That's the beauty of glue, is that you can move stuff. So I got my black down, now I'm going to wrap my ribbon. So I didn't tie this one yet because this is a wraparound ribbon. So I'm going to leave myself a little bit of extra tail on my ribbon because it doesn't really have to go far around, but it is wrapping around.
Say goodbye to Rick.
Goodbye, Ruthann. Come back. Yeah, come back in a little bit. By the time you're done with dinner, we may be working on the waterfall card. Okay. All right. See you in a bit. Okay. So I'm going to tie this one with a 5, 6, 5, I think, which means I'm leaving 2 teeth at the ends. I'm picking up just the number 5. I'm coming back. I'm picking up just the number 6. I'm coming back. I'm picking up just the number 5. I am sticking the end of my ribbon down through the hole.
Show the back.
That's what the back looks like. And I'm going to kind of shimmy my ribbon up. Then you can see how it tries to kind of disappear through that channel. At this point, I'm going to let it go back to the back of my comb again. And I'm going to tie it in a half knot, just as if I was tying my shoes. I'm going to slide it off my bow maker, and I am going to have a perfectly lovely bow. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to take some tape because I am wrapping it around my card. I don't need to use my best glue ever. I just need to use a piece of my tape, and I'm going to tape right over the tails.
Would this be a 515 bow with the red bow maker?
That is exactly correct. Okay.
Say hi to Mariel.
Good morning, Muriel. How are you, friend? Okay, because it's in the middle, I'm going to tear my tape in the center right under the knot, or over the knot, I should say. And I'm going to grab my tape's being a little bit sticky right there, but I'm going to grab my tape and I'm going to pull. Maybe if you're having trouble, you might be being too gentle. I pull kind of hard. Sometimes when you ask me a question, I'll say, let's bring that up in class, because if you're having trouble, maybe some other people are having trouble. The secondary reason I do that is I find it easier to answer questions when I'm actually doing something. Because then I realize, okay, well, one thing I'm doing is, I'm pulling harder than maybe you are. And so there's just different reasons. Okay, I'm going to get my Mrs. Tiggy Winkle and my spare piece of cardstock, and I'm going to trim Mrs. Tiggy Winkle with cardstock also. So I'm going to get my glue bottle, because this is going to be fine. I'm gluing paper against paper. There's no mirror on this card. The only time, I prefer to use glue between my paper layers sometimes, because it's easier to kind of have that ability to slide things. But I always use, well, I nearly always use tape if I'm using mirror board, because the glue just does not want to stick to the mirror board. There's nothing to hang on, excuse me, there's nothing to hang on to. And this time, I just eyeballed it, trimmed myself a little square. I did this before I put the ribbon down because I want to see how this positions against my design. And I'm going to bring my design just to offset it a little bit. Sometimes I'll do that on purpose. See, instead of trying to absolutely center that, I'm bringing it down and off to the side just a little bit because I think it is, more attractive sometimes just to have that little bit of offset and not to have everything absolutely symmetrical. Now, I do know that sometimes that drives my crafty friends crazy. I have a friend who crafts with me who symmetry is her thing. She wants everything in precise symmetry. And I'll say, friend, I don't want to say her name. I'll say, friend, let's offset that a little bit. It's going to look better if you offset that. No. Well, it's her project. Eventually she can do what she wants. But I try to get her to kind of offset things a little bit because I think she would be she'd find she got even more compliments on her projects if she would offset. But sometimes people just don't want to do it. And that's okay too. Because you have to like your projects. I'm going to take my leftover piece of ribbon, which I almost cut myself short on, but I can make it work. I'm going to put a little piece of tape on that. And I'm going to peel my tape starting in the middle, because if you're putting it on fabric, it's good to always start in the middle. And I'm going to come up on my image just a little bit, just enough to allow myself some tails to wrap around the back. I'm going to have to take that off. I didn't put it down hard to start with because I knew that I'd left myself a bit of a challenge by having this too short. Lifted just a little bit of my paper, but I'm not worried about that because it's under my ribbon. There we go. And I like the way that looks. This would be a good place for a greeting or something up here too, in this corner. And now I'm going to glue this here, and we will be done with 2 of our 4 cards. And I'm going to put my border of glue around. Sometimes people say, how much glue do I actually use? Well, I'm using my little needle nose glue bottle. And for a heavy image like this, I might put a little squiggle down through the center too. But it doesn't take an awful lot. You won't end up with paper rippling and stuff if you keep your lines fine. And I'm going to just position this so that I have that nice wide border, white border, not white, wide white border all the way around. Now you'll see that this one and this one are slightly different, once again, because my large image was printed on the, my ribbon's a little different color. My large image was printed on the A4 setting. My smaller of the 2 images was printed using that mid setting, where it's slightly smaller, but but all the pieces will fit. Now, in looking at this, I actually regret that this wasn't just a little bit darker like this one. In my settings, I can actually adjust the intensity of the color of my background pages. So it might be good to actually add a bit more orangish color to that, and I can do that using my software. Okay? All right, that one's done. Now we do have that really, well, maybe I want to do that. We do have this really wonderful "thank you for all you do" insert. I want to stick that in there because it's really cute. And I want to point out to you that on this one, I took that background and I used that colorize feature, and I took most of the color out of the background and I made the image lighter. I still have a beautiful image of Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. This print right here was done using my font in the software. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to trim this up, and I'm going to put that insert right in there. Now this is a 6-inch card. I've got an 8-inch wide piece of paper here. So I may have to trim a little on this side and a little on that side to keep my font centered. Right now I've got 7 inches to there. I think I can just take an inch off each side since I centered it, but we'll find out if that's true. Yeah, you can just take it, after you take your edges off, take an inch off each side. Take a little bit more off the top because it looks like I have some interesting images up there. And I'll show you what it looks like when I finished it. So here's my 6x6. So it's nice and centered, and it's got that great big font on it. I love that. I think that's fun. And it should be a pretty darn good fit. I'm going to glue it in here. And then I'm going to, or tape it in here, either way. And then I'm going to come in here, I'll probably tape it just because I usually do. I'm going to trim around it with my scissors. Sometimes the cards aren't exactly 6 inches, or my trimming may not have been exactly 6 inches. So that's no problem. I'm just going to put my insert in. Rub it into that tape, and I'm going to take my scissors and I'm just going to trim around the edge of it. And we're done. Okay, and inserted. All right, next we're going to make our, oops, I made a mistake already. We're going to make our gatefold card. Now I was out of gatefold cards in the store, but that doesn't matter because we're going to do something special here. What I want you to do is I want you to take your 6x6 card blank, and I want you to fold both sides to the center. Fold the first one as straight as you can, and then use your bone folder or your scoring tool. Score that in nicely. Now I'm going to come back with my other side, and I'm not as worried about the center line as I am about matching just face to face with the one that I just folded. So match it up so it's a tight fit against the piece I just folded to have your gatefold come together nicely. And I just created a gatefold card. Now the only downside to doing it this way is that I have this little crease in the back. But you know what? We lined this card with cardstock. So what's going to happen is when I put that cardstock in there, that's going to solidify and cover that score line in the back. Okay, so let's see what we put on the inside of this. Well, let's just use, I actually did not score, I did not cover it with cardstock, but we can. So I'm going to take one of these pieces right here, which I actually also used on the outside. And I'm going to trim this down. And I'm going to trim it to slightly more. I'm going to make it slightly less than 6 inches. Like 5 7/8 square. And then it should be a really nice fit for inside that card. Now, the reason I didn't do this on my sample card is that I was using an actual gatefold card, or I would have done this. But we made our own gatefold. So I cut it to a 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. Let's see if it's a perfect fit. Nope. It has to come down just a tad more. It ends up being slightly less than 6 by 6 on the inside because you have the fold lines taking up space. There it is. So I trim that down just a little bit, and I have a nice, really sturdy gatefold card. So I'm going to trim this up, or glue this up and stick it right inside of there. Now remember how I told you that they don't always print exactly true to the color they are on the CD? This one was that brown, that green brown that I love so much, and it comes out more yellowish, but it's beautiful still. So I don't mind. Okay, we've got our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle is on mirror board. So we're going to get another piece of our Mary here. And we're going to put Mrs. Tiggy Winkle on a piece of mirror board. Now, as I said, I prefer to use tape anytime I'm taping to mirror board because Mary doesn't stick with the glue quite as well. Okay, I'll put some little tape flags on there because I don't want to accidentally stick it in the wrong place. I'm going to line it up, and I'm going to pull my tape flags out. Okay. I'm going to kind of eyeball it. If this makes you uncomfortable, you can use your paper trimmer. I like to just kind of eyeball things. And I have my Mrs. Tiggy Winkle surrounded in mirror board. I have this piece of cardstock right here. And I'm going to use borders on this also. Now, what else did I use this for? You've got 2 pieces of the yellow in your kit. One of them is supposed to be an insert for this. But I think we have plenty for me to, I think we have plenty of it for me to actually cover this and lay the borders right on top. Let's see what I want to do.
One border strip.
Yeah, I can get one border strip out of this. Yeah, and that'll still give me a full sheet. You're right. Okay, so I'm going to cover my one panel with this one. Come on. If you have trouble picking that with your nails, grab it with your tweezers. Or okay. I'm going to cover one side with this and trim it around the back. I'm going to take my other piece here then. I'm going to trim my borders off. Love that light when it comes to trimming borders off or finding a particular place in a picture or an image. I love having light under there. Just one of many things that make this my favorite paper trimmer. Okay, and now I'm going to cut myself a 3-inch strip. I might make it 3 1/4. That should still leave me plenty on the other side. I make it 3 1/4 just because I don't want it, since I'm cutting it, I don't want it to come up short. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put my tape down. But just like I did with my card, I'm going to butt this right up against the other layer, as opposed to thinking about where the fold line, where the opening is. That might seem, oops, I just peeled my tape off. That might seem odd, but I'm just going to stick that back down. I think I'll add another piece of tape here. I didn't rub it down, so it was just kind of sitting there. Let's rub that tape in this time. Okay, so what I mean is that now I have the dimension of having an extra weight on this piece, right? So I'm going to butt this right up against that extra piece so that I have an absolutely tight fold. Okay? You can't even see where my opening is. That's what we're going for. And we got that by butting it up firmly against the other piece that was already there. I'm going around the outside now, trimming this off to have a perfectly covered card. And that, my friends, is a beautiful gatefold card. Okay, next, I want to put some border strips on here. I could just put Mrs. Tiggy Winkle right on top. I absolutely could, and she would still be cute. But how much does it add to add some of those borders underneath her? So let's do that. Let's get some border strips in here. And we have some really pretty borders here to work with. What I'm going to use is this one right here, including the 2 lines on the outside. Okay, so I'm going to cut down this edge, this outside edge. And then the other one that I used was this one here, including the outside edge line. So going back to my paper cutter, and let's start by taking our big border. And I got that cut right down my outside line. Now I'm going to cut it down the other outside line. And that makes a really beautiful border piece for the inside of my card. Now, I'm going to glue this on top by putting the glue on my border piece itself. I want that glue to come right to my edges. I'm going to put this on here where I want it. Where I want it, I'm eyeballing it, but I wanted it basically center. I'm going to make sure that it looks good all the way across, that it's straight and like. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to trim right along my edge. This edge is going to become my leading edge on my other side, so that what's going to happen is when I put this back together, my pattern's going to match. Not that it matters a whole lot because Mrs. Tiggy Winkle sits right over the top of it, but that's a good way to get your patterns to match, is to use one piece, cut it, and then continue. Make sure I got it quite light enough, so I'll add some more. So if it did not have Mrs. Tiggy Winkle on top of it, what I would have here would be a perfectly matched up border piece. But what I'm going to do is chop this off and chop this off, and I have that pretty border. Now I'm going to go back to my border sheet. Sorry, my ear itches under this headset. I'm not used to it. Just a little pressure over my ear makes my ears itchy. Okay, I'm going to cut this border piece right along. And you might want to do this with your scissors if you don't have a lighted, paper trimmer. And I'm cutting this right along the outside. Each one of these border strips that I was showing you a minute ago are going to have two little lines on the outsides. This is what my big piece looks like. Now I'm going to cut it down the middle so that each side has two little lines. And this is the border strip I want for the top and the bottom. Now, if this is all too complicated, just use an easier one. There's lots of borders on the sheet. But I like the accent of having the little borders there. And these I'm going to go right to the top and right to the bottom with. So they're easy to put on once I get them figured out there. Are you going to sleep on me?
Mm-hmm.
It's warm in here. We should turn the heat down. It's not cold in here. It is hot in here. Okay. So just like before, I put it on. This time it will show because it's below Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. So I trim that off. I trim this off the end. And then I continue my border on the other side. Doing it this way, I might get a little bit of goop on my scissors, but they wipe right off with a baby wipe. Every once in a while I have to clean my scissors because I do things like this. Turn that off. to mention it. It is hot in here. Okay.
Well, Dan's back while things are simmering.
Aha! Well, we're just about to be done with this one, Ruth Ann. We are putting our borders on. So I am going to run this border strip across the top. Putting right up against the top, right up against the side, right out to the edge. I'm going to cut it off there. And I'm going to come to my other side. I'm going to continue my pattern right where I cut it off because that's going to make my image match exactly. I should be able to match those lines up. Any flowers that are there, just right in the center. And we got that. Let's scrap. Okay, we have our perfectly laid out borders on our card. Now we're going to take our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle and we're going to wrap that with some ribbon. Or actually, I guess I could have wrapped it. I didn't. I glued it. But I'm going to glue my bow right here in the corner. Whoop, I stuck it to my card. I'm going to glue my bow right here in the corner up behind Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. I'm going to take my little piece of blue that I saved. I'm going to put a little tape on the back of here. And I'm going to remove my tape. Remove my paper from my tape, I should say.
Muriel asks, how long does it take you to think out how to put the bit together?
It depends on what I'm working on and how creative I'm feeling at the time, Ariel. Sometimes it takes me no time. I mean, it just makes itself. Other times I can sit here for half an hour and look at all the little pieces and I can't think of a thing. And when that happens to me, I usually work on something really simple that's already kind of pre-designed. I work on it, try and get the creative juices flowing because otherwise I can just sit here for an endless amount of time and not figure it out. But once I start feeling more creative and start accomplishing things, then it tends to come together. If it still doesn't, I get up and I walk away and I come back. Because sometimes, no matter what, it's just not going to be there. But sometimes it's challenging, especially when I know I've got to get something done. But when I'm working on projects I really like, and most of the projects I do I really like, or we wouldn't be doing them, which is the advantage I have over working for somebody else who might say, here, do this project. Most of the things I do I really like, so that helps a lot. But I'm not sure I'd be a great designer for somebody else and their products, because if I didn't love it, I might have a problem. Oops. My ribbon is on the back of this, and it was trying to fray a little bit. Let me make sure I still have this straight. I'll show you something else I do that Margie really likes. A lot of times, especially if I have loose ends like this, I'll take a scrap of something. It doesn't even really matter what it is. I'll just take a scrap of paper. Like this one's going to be really neutral because it's the same as the inside of our card, right? And I'll cover that a little bit because we don't like our untidy ends showing. I try and cover my end. I try and keep my ends covered. Well, keep in mind, Muriel, that when I'm doing it with you, I've done it before. That's why it was such a big deal when last night, when we did or not last night, Thursday night, when we did our decoupage. Never before in this class have I just flown solo and just designed on the fly. I've always done it at least once before. And Thursday night when I did that decoupage, I had not done that project before. And I got to tell you, it made me just a little bit nervous. The one thing I knew I had going for me there was that I knew exactly where I was going with it. Now on my original, I added some extra little bits when I was done. I took one of my leftover pieces of art. I took one of my leftover borders and stuck it inside. Now this time we have this inside piece because we wanted to make that solid where we had the score line under it, remember? But there we go. Okay, so this is done. Are you guys ready to learn how to do a waterfall card? I know it's what you guys have been waiting for. I know it. I know it. Are you ready to do that?
2.5 hours.
After 2.5 hours of watching this video, I'm finally going to show you how to do that card if you haven't already had experience with those. If you have, you already know, and it didn't build suspense at all. Okay. Well, one thing I think we did accomplish there, I'm not sure how many of you have made gatefold cards out of other cards, but you can do exactly the same thing we just saw with a 5x7, with an A2, with A6 card. You can use that technique I just showed you to do any number of things. Okay, I'm going to set these out of my way for the moment. So what I recommend to you that you do is wait to do your liners until you're finished, because then you can use your scraps to do those liners and they turn out so cute. Okay, that's neither here nor there. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to find our art for this waterfall card. And there's a few pieces I want you to cut out. So we're going to start with our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle for the cover. So we're just going to cruise along here. We're going to cut out that happy birthday circle with our friend Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. So we're just going to cut around here. This is a perfect example of when it's good to turn your paper and keep your scissors steady, because you'll find it's a lot easier to cut around a circle if you're not moving your scissors. Don't move your scissors, move your paper. And you'll get a lot smoother cut doing things like cutting around circles, because you can just kind of keep a steady pressure on your scissors and your paper coming to the scissors makes it just a lot smoother. So I get a nice circle cut. Okay, we're done with this one for now, so we'll set her aside. Look at all those beautiful images we have left. Oh, this is the one. Let's see. I think this is the one right here that I used inside of the gatefold card. Say what? Oh.
This is the last card.
Yeah, the last card we did. Okay, you have 2 more pieces of paper and a blank sheet. Oh, I guess actually we have borders and things here. Yeah, you have 2 more sheets of paper. These 2, this one and this one. And you have this border sheet left with a blank sheet of cardstock. We're going to take our images that we have here, and I want you to cut these images right here down to 2 1/4 inches. 2 1/4 inches. Now, if your paper, and I believe it was, is made on using that mid setting, your images are already going to be 2 1/4. Mine, I think I printed first before I printed yours, and mine are lopped off just a little bit at the bottom because I didn't discover that mid setting right away. It took me a while to figure out what I was doing. And so I'm just going to first trim out the whole strip. Then I'm going to see how wide they are. And then I'm going to decide how I want to trim these down, because I want to get these to 2 1/4 inches square. This is the kit that keeps on going and going, Kathy. It is. It's a great kit. Okay, so I'm going to cut my images apart so I can look at them individually. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to make each one of them 2 1/4 inches square. And when you think that you're getting a lot in this kit at this point, you haven't even explored that CD yet. And I'm telling you, when you explore that CD, you can make hundreds, well, an infinite number almost, an infinite number of different cards. Now my bottom image here is already 2 1/4 inches because, like, remember when I said it kind of locked it off a little bit. So I have to decide what part of the sides I'm most willing to sacrifice. And I'm cutting this down so that I have my first square that looks like this. Next, I have to cut this one down. This becomes a little bit more challenging because I love every part of the image, but I still have to let something go. So I'll take anything I can off the top where it's not cutting into the characters, but I still am at 2 1/2, so I'm going to have to cut off some of their feet. It's okay. It's not hurting them. All right. I'm going to cut off part of a little girl and part of Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle, and I'm just going to try and center and get the best I can out of the full image. And that still looks great. Okay. Next, I have, isn't it Judy? Wasn't her name Judy? And Judy's sitting at the table. And this one's a little easier to cut width-wise because there's a lot surrounding her. So I'm still going to have to cut off part of the seat that she's seated at, but it's still very obvious what we got going on. Yes, there is some giggling going on over there as Teddy is giving Bryce a bath. Teddy's pretty sure he didn't get behind his ears very well.
Or in them.
Or in them. Yeah, he didn't get the inside of his ears trimmed well. So Teddy's got to get in there and really wash the inside of those ears, which is gruesome. I love puppy kisses, but that's kind of gross when he goes for the inside of your ears. Okay, last one. I've got Mrs. Tiggy Winkle ironing, and I've cut that down to 2 1/4 inches. So I'm just double checking my measures, making sure everything's going to be, I want you to get as close to 2.5 exactly as you can. Now we have another sheet of images. We're going to take our other images from this sheet, and I'm going to hold this here for a minute. So when you're trimming yours, you can see what part, oops, sorry. So you can see what part of the images I used. I tried to use the smallest one of the hedgehogs, but it was still too long. So I used the front of the hedgehog.
Better than the tail.
Which is much better than the tail, Bryce says, yes. I used, oops, over here, coming through the door, I came right down to the top of her head, off to both sides, and about a little lower than midway down her body. This one was hard because I didn't want to cut off any part of it, but I had to decide that Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle, and the bunny were really the most important part of that image. So excuse me.
That probably answers Kim's question that no, you do have to cut the images down. They can't be used as that size.
So I kept Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle, and I cut the little girl mostly off. You can tell she's behind, but I cut it off. And then the other two images, this one was really easy with Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle here. This one I had to cut off a larger part of their body, but you still get the gist of things. So I'm going to hold this here for one more second so you guys can copy those when you're ready if you want to. And I'm going to cut those out. No, I'm just going to do this with my scissors because I already marked off what I wanted. You don't really have to mark them off. I just wanted to give you some ideas because some of them were kind of difficult choices to make, but you got to do what you got to do, guys.
Could you make the waterfall mechanism a different size so you could use the image that size?
Yes, you're eventually going to have all of your images the same size. But that doesn't mean you can't take them off of different image sheets. I was going for the inside of the card, which limited my size quite a bit. But I think you can alter the pattern that I'm going to give you for your waterfall and make these any size you want. It's just going to take a little bit of experimentation, okay? But I think you'll be able to do any size you want. And obviously the waterfall mechanism normally is on the outside of a card. I just put it on the inside because why not? Okay, so I'm almost done trimming these. One of the things I love about this CD is that they just didn't want to waste space. So anywhere they had any extra little space, they gave you these little Mrs. Tiggy Winkles. We're not using them right now, but wouldn't that be cute to cut that out and put it on your envelope or something? Of course, you could stamp it and color it because you now have a Mrs. Tiggy Winkle stamp too. So that's another choice. Or not color it. Actually, the outline drawing is enchanting all by itself. Okay, so about now we're getting all of our images cut out. I don't think anybody is working directly with me, so I can kind of racehorse along here a little bit. All right, now I want you to take the blank cardstock I gave you, and we're going to cut a strip from top to bottom, lengthwise. That's 2¼ inches wide. And I want you to cut another strip that's 1/2 inch wide, 1/2 inch wide by 6 inches long. You'll have enough cardstock here to make a couple more waterfall cards if you want to. And you're going to want to because it's really fun. Okay. What did I do with my scoreboard? I had it here momentarily.
It's underneath your paper here. Right here.
Thank you. It's white. I didn't see it. Okay.
To your left.
Right. Yeah. It's to my right, to my left. Okay. We are going to start scoring, but before we do that, you need to measure off 2 1/4 inches and just make a little mark on your paper. As I figure out what I've done with my pen, which I also have here, buried under a mountain of cards we just finished. So it doesn't have to be exact, but approximately 2 1/4 inches in. And I'm going to start scoring. Now, the reason I want to use my explosion board is that these lines right here for the different sizes are almost perfectly dimensioned for this card that we're making. So you don't have to use exactly this size. Again, you can experiment, and I'm going to show you what you need to be doing, and then you can experiment and play with it. But I want to make some, now that's my scoring tool. I was using it as a bone folder, there it is. I'm going to score this starting at my 2 1/4 line, and I'm going to score this a total of 8 times. Whoops. Just line those back up again. Score that last one, and then I'm going to have to move it over a little bit because I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines. I need one more. I'm going to move it over a little bit, line my lines up, and get one more score line on there. So I want 8 score lines. So I've measured down and started at 2 1/4 inches, and then I've put in my score lines. Now you're going to ask me what the measure is between these. Can I have one of those little rulers over there? And I haven't measured it, but I think they're about 3/8. They are exactly 3/8 inch apart. So that's what I used here. Now, if you were making a bigger waterfall card, you could make those score lines a little further apart. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to turn your paper so that the score lines are on the bottom half of your paper. And I want you to fold on that top line, folding it backwards. Now fold it forwards.
The same line folded.
Same line. All we're doing is breaking the fibers in that paper because I want this to become flexible. I'm going down to the next one and I'm folding it. I'm going to go down to the third one. I'm folding it forward. I'm folding it backward. Then I'll leave it backward. I'll go to the next one. I'm folding it forward. One thing to watch while you're going is make sure all your score lines are straight. If you go to fold one and it's a little cattywampus, use your bone folder right here to straighten it up. So I'm bound to have one. There's one. See there? It's not quite straight. I'm going to line that back up. I'm going to use my scoring tool, which also is doubling as my bone folder today. I'm just going to straighten up that score line while I'm here. Okay? And that's going to give me a more tidy appearance in my finished project. So I'm going to my next line. I'm scoring. I'm folding. I'm folding it back again. All I'm doing is making these lines kind of wiggly by breaking those fibers at my fold lines. Okay? Fold it each direction. So we've done nothing complicated so far. All we've done is we started scoring at 2 1/4 inches. We scored 3/8 inch apart, and we made 8 score lines. And now we have folded everything so that we have our long piece of cardstocks in the back, and we have all these little score lines starting at the top and running down. Next, we are going to take our pictures and kind of put them in order as we remember the story. They don't have to be exact, but I do know that our story ends with her at the picnic table where she finds herself sleeping, and we have the back end of that little hedgehog running away. Because she wakes up and sees the hedgehog running away. And then we just gotta kind of put these together as best we can. We do know that she entered Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's house. And we could put, let me see what I did before. Yeah. I started with entering the house. So enter the house. She sees Mrs. Tiggy Winkle. And this is when they're delivering stuff, so we'll put the delivery ones off to the side. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle shows her the scarves and things. They got up close with the red one. Mrs. Tiggy Winkle's ironing. These don't have to be in an exact order, guys, but we're just kind of telling the story. If you wanted to go back through the video, you could probably put these in perfect order for today's purposes. I'm not going to. They started their deliveries walking down the path, and they delivered to the bunnies. Eventually, she got to the picnic table, and then she saw the hedgehog wandering away. So I've kind of got my images in order now. I should have a nice tidy little stack of 2 1/4 inch images. Now I'm going to start putting them on this little device that we created. So starting with the very top line in my folds, this one, I'm going to put glue across this very top strip. Just that first, between the first and second fold lines. I'm going to put glue there. Now normally when you're doing a waterfall card, your images go up and down, but ours are going to go to the side because we're putting it inside our card, right? So I'm going to put my image, I'm going to put glue in, and I'm going to put that image right there on that first fold line. Then I'm going to fold her up. I'm going to fold that one up, and I'm going to go to my second fold line. Ask questions if you need to, guys. I think it's clear, but sometimes when I think I'm being clear as mud. So you need to tell me if I'm clear as mud. I'm going to put my next image right in here on that next, with the left-hand side of that lined up on my second score line, right up against that, okay?
Oh, why don't you use tape?
I could, but glue holds paper really well. And so I use glue. It also gives me the opportunity to reposition a little bit if something looks like it's not quite right. Okay, I'm going to go to my next one. I'm going to put glue on that third tab, which is just my next fold line, and I'm going to line that up. And now I've got 3. I'll fold that under, and this is what it looks like from the other side. Would it be easier to start at the bottom? I don't know. Maybe. I'm going to go on my next line. And I'm going to fold that up. It kind of came loose there. So I'm reattaching. And I'm folding that one up. I'm going to my next line. Oh, hold on. And I'm going to get my next image. I'm going to attach that. Nose itches. I'm going to kiss a fool. Honey, right around here. It's not his birthday anymore. I don't have to be nice to him. And I'm going to put my next one on. And I'm going to fold that one up. I'm going to put my next image on. Did I get too few? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You know what I did? I only have 7 lines. I thought I did 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm short one. So it's not a disaster. I'm going to line this up on my board and I'm going to put in another one. It's not going to be easy, but it could be done. I was one short. I even counted them. How did I do that? I don't know. Because sometimes I'm a doofus. I'm going to end up off. I'm going to put one because I used too few score lines. I need this last one to be the right, so I'm omitting an image, which is a bummer because I love that one. I'm omitting one image because I started. If I go too far down this, it's not going to work right. So that's okay. I'm just going to take one image out. I think the picnic table is important because that's where she finds herself asleep. Is it all a dream or did it really happen? So I'm keeping the picnic table and I'll have one less image to show. And then I'm folding that up. And when I get to my last fold, assuming I did it all right, which I was one short, I'm going to glue my last panel just to 2/3 of an inch. Even though it's not scored there, I now have practiced that 2/3 of an inch. I know how wide that is. I'm going to glue just at 2/3 of an inch. And I'm going to glue my hedgehog image on that piece. I have just a little bit hanging down here at the bottom. That's normal. See, when I see the little white piece left there at the end of Mrs. Tiggy, Winkle, that's fine. Now I'm going to get that 6-inch strip that we cut. And I'm going to lift up this hedgehog one, just like that. And I'm going to put a little glue on here. I can go up to a 1/2 inch wide with my glue. I'm going to put my strip on top of there and line it up with the bottom. Okay, everybody with me? Now, I'm going to open this back up, okay, because we've been lifting as we've gone. I'm going to open it back up. I'm going to fold my long piece here. I'm going to reach around the back, flipping the entire thing over, and I'm going to fold these 2 tabs around that back piece. I am not going to get glue on the back piece at all. I'm going to keep my glue just on these 2 little tails that I just created, the wraparound. I'm going to put some glue on one tab, and I'm going to glue it to the
When
other.
you glue that down, can you give another demo of putting that back on?
Say what?
Repeat the 6-inch piece of how you put that on.
Okay. The 6-inch piece gets glued to the bottom of the same, of the tab where the hedgehog is. Put it right across the bottom and glue it in the center. It doesn't have to be exact center, but I'm going to glue this face right to that tab and come right up to the edge of my paper. Then I'm going to open this all up. Okay, that little tab is stretching across there, the little attachment. I'm going to come around to the back side. I'm going to fold these tabs over the top, and I'm going to be careful not to get any glue on this piece at all. This long white piece. Don't get any glue on that. But I'm going to use these wraparounds, and I'm going to attach those to each other. Good? Yeah? Say that part again about the 1/2-inch piece. You guys, you got it, Kim? So my 1/2-inch piece wrapped across the bottom under the hedgehog on that little short tab right here. Then I flip the whole thing over and glue just these pieces. Don't let it touch this long piece at all, because that has to slide inside that band. And look what happens. I can now set this down. I have to kind of hold this. I have to kind of hold that band where I just wrapped it around. But look what happens. I can pull this tab, and my story comes to life. Now, sometimes I've noticed, sometimes when I do this, more than one page wants to come up at a time. Yes, you can, Kathy girl. You absolutely can. In fact, we're going to trim that. And you could take the trim and just put it right over the top. Now, if you're opening this up and more than one tab is trying to come at a time, I want to problem solve with you on that. Open this up just like when we were putting our bands in. Take your bone folder and go back over these one more time. If they're trying to open more than one at a time, just go back and bone fold that. You only have to do this if it's not playing nice. If it's playing nice, you're good to go. If it's not playing nice, just bone fold that one more time to say, no, this is where I want you to bend. Okay? And you can do that. When you get to this one, it probably will not let you fold it up because you've kind of reached the end of your line there. In fact, when you go to open this up, you'll see the hedgehog, but it will only open just, 90 degrees. It won't fold the hedgehog back. And that's normal and correct. Okay? All right, now let's get our card assembled and we'll put this in here. Is this just the coolest thing you guys have seen? I think it's cool. It's unfortunate that I miscounted my lines, but you see what happens if you don't. You just drop one out. This is the longest one of these I've seen. I haven't seen anybody do one this long before. So that was kind of cool, and it took a little figuring to figure out how to get it to do that many lines. It should have done one more line, but I couldn't just score it and put another one here because it wouldn't open right. Once I had started putting them on, I either had to add a score line up here and rearrange all of my pictures or drop out a picture because there was no way to do it then.
Count your lines correctly.
Count your lines correctly in the beginning is Bryce's advice. Okay, we have in our possession, we have an A6 card left. That's not it. We do have one here though. I know. Look to my left. There is an A6 card here on this table. There it is. There it is. Okay, we are going to, where is my card sample? We're going to cover that with gold mirror board. We still have a piece left. Don't we? Yeah. Huh. What did I do? I miscalculated somewhere. We don't even actually need it. So I'm going to skip the gold mirror board. And I am going to find my piece with the borders. I'm going to trim my piece with the borders.
It says, could you make one more score line after the hedgehog, and then he would flip up too?
You would have to still leave, he won't slip up because the band is there. And you don't really want it opening to white anyway. So if you did that, you wouldn't be able to score it after that because the mechanism requires that it have enough room to move. See what's happening on the other side? We're butting up against our first image. That's why we left 2 1/4 inches before we started. So you would have to add score lines at the top, not at the bottom, because you have to have a 2 1/2 inch square or 2 1/4 inch square to let that, or we're butting up against the first image on the back. I hope I'm saying that with some clarity. It doesn't sound to me like I am, but I hope that helps. It's because we're running up against the beginning. So anything I wanted to add has to be added to the beginning, not to the end. Because by the time I get to here, I'm already touching the first one. Yes, I am clear as mud, or yes, it makes sense. That sounds really cute, Kathy girl. Okay, let's trim this border sheet so we can get this card done. I'm going to trim off my edge pieces so I have a clear idea of where I'm going. I'm going to use the side that has the narrow lines is going to be the side that I'm applying to my card. Okay. So I'm going to get my tape out here. Clear as glass, good. I'd rather be clear as glass than clear as mud. I think I Aren't you guys totally exhausted at this point? I can tell you I'm getting totally exhausted. Yeah, sometimes tape can't stop it from moving. That is true. The moving parts can kind of work against the edge of the tape. That is true. Okay, I'm going to put my pretty little border sheet to work here on the front. I think it's neat how you can use these borders as actual background. I think it's pretty. And then I'm going to cut around it. Okay, now.
Good night, Betty.
Good night, Betty. See you later, friend. Okay, now I'm going to get my image, my bow, which I've already tied and glued and stuck to something. Oh, I want to show you how I did my little tails here. You might be thinking, because of the way this looks, that I ran my ribbon clear underneath. And that's what I wanted you to think. But that's not what I did at all. I'm going to cut my ends fairly short on this because I want the viewer to think that I ran those ends clear down underneath the card. So I'm not letting them show. I'm going to come under here. I'm going to cut these relatively short. So it just looks like I have the bow. And then I'm going to, if you want this piece to be more sturdy, you can put it on another piece of cardstock if you like. I'm just going to put mine up on some foam squares. I think you guys will enjoy having these 1/2-inch foam squares, really, to try. I think Brittany made this decision for us because she kept hearing me say one of these days I was going to do that. And she thought, oh, it's one of these days. Because Brittany does this stuff with me. Yeah, enough of your telling me what you're going to do. Let's just get it done. Get my little foam squares off here. I'm going to center my happy birthday message. Her tabletop needs to be straight when you do that. So you can, so she's kind of leaning over, so it's kind of hard to see where the horizon line is, but you can use her tabletop to determine that. I'm going to put my little bow on at the top.
Linda said she got regular foam squares in hers.
Oh, you got regular foam squares and I got 1/2-inch? Well, darn. We'll give you some 1/2-inch soon.
Those are the senior foam squares.
Huh?
Those are for senior citizens.
Oh, the
1/2-inch.
The 1/2-inch are for the senior citizens in the crowd, Bryce said. That now includes me. Since I've had my birthday. Okay. Now I'm going to take my extra piece of ribbon. I'm going to cut a little piece of it that's about 2 inches long, probably 3 inches long, maybe 2.5. I'm going to cut myself some whale tails in the ends. I just folded it in half and doing them all at once. I spread that out a little bit, like that. I put some glue on it. I just used regular glue, I admit.
just turned 71.
You're more senior than me, so I should have given you the squares. Well, we'll talk to Brittany about that. So I put glue on the top and on the bottom of my little piece I just created, and I slid it up under here because I was being sneaky. I let those edges come right down, out, to make it look as if that goes completely underneath. Okay, and the outside's done. It looks like maybe we were, I don't know, maybe I used a big one when I was supposed to use a little one earlier, I'm not sure. You still have a piece of mirror board here, but it wasn't the right size for what I was doing. You could actually put a piece of mirror or something behind this if you wanted to. Okay, on the inside, we are going to, I put down this piece across my card just to kind of decorate it on the inside. So we can do that. I'm going to, I think, just put some tape on here. It does not cover the entire inside, which is fine. I'm just going to kind of go side. Oh. Take the tape paper off the tape before you try and make it stick. Just a little something I figured out. Roberta, you and me are the same age. Okay. So just kind of center it between the two white areas because we're using borders. It looks terrific, even though I'm not covering the entire inside. It looks good. I'm going to trim this off. And now I'm going to trim it straighter. It doesn't look like I trimmed it entirely straight. Okay. Now, this is super important when we attach this, guys. You can only put glue on this band. That's the only place it's going to get glued, is on this band. So we're going to put glue on there, but we are going to pull a little sneaky then when we're done, because I wanted it to be more secure.
Use red liner tape there.
You could, but you don't need to. The glue is going to hold this really firmly. I'm going to position this inside.
Push the front of the card down so they can see.
And I just kind of centered it there. Now I pulled a little sneaky at this point because I was worried, you know, that's just a lot hanging on that one little bit of glue. So what I did is I cut myself a border piece here. And I went the other way. Because that just seemed like a lot of weight hanging on that little tiny 1/2-inch strip. So what I did is I cut this border off of my leftover piece. And then what I did is I put this piece in here across that back piece, not gluing to my slide at all. I'm being very careful not to get glue on my slide, but I can glue this on top of my band and above and below my slide. And by doing that, I'm kind of taking some of that pressure off this little tiny band. So I'm putting glue here. I'm getting it well away from the back part. Okay, I don't want it on my slide at all, but I can put it here, above and below. And by running this border strip across this back, I go clear to the top, across my band, and to the bottom. I'm kind of distributing some of that load on this wider band instead of having everything on that 1/2 inch band. Okay. Glue on the band only. That's right. We do not want the glue to touch the working part because that has to be able to slide. So I trim that off. Now, Kathy, you were asking, can I double this up in some way? Yes. You can. You do need to be careful when you do that you are not messing with the ability to slide through carefully. So I think you could put something decorative on here. I didn't try this, but I think you could put a piece on here.
You'd want that piece to be as long as your slide pulls out, right?
Yes. Yeah, it's going to have to be longer. You can use one of your leftover pieces. I think some of these are used for things in the kit, but I think you could pull it clear out. I have not tried this before, so we're learning together.
I think you're also just actually putting it on the back, so it wouldn't.
You're still going to have to go over that. You've got that slide on the top and the bottom.
Yeah.
I think the trick might be pull it clear out. I'm going to trim just a little bit off of this. We're going to figure this out together. We'll find out. I think the trick might be to put the glue on here and go under that band a little bit.
Or put it on before you put the band on.
And then it's going to, that's going to work. If you put it on and go under that band just a little bit. So let's go ahead and do this. I think that's the same width as my band is. So I'm going to put this glue on the end of the band and tuck it up under there just a little bit. I left that white showing to represent that I'm going to go underneath that just a little bit. And then I'm going to attach it. Make sure your glue does not get on your... Oh, that's going to work. What a good idea. See, look at the things we come up with together. I'll push it all the way in. And now I want it to be able to keep all that component in my card, so I'm going to trim this extra off. And now I've got a heavier tab that still slides. So look at the loveliness we come up with together. Now see, if you get it out from under that band, it doesn't slide well. So you need to work that under that band a little bit. If you pull it out, you see the white, you've gone too far. But that works great. And this is much heavier duty now. It feels sturdier. And see, even though this is not attached over here at all, it's really well attached by putting this extra piece in here. It's really got a good grip on that. And as long as you don't pull it out too far, you don't have any trouble sliding that. So that's a good question, Kathy. And we ended up with a really neat addition to our card. So thanks for asking that question. Yay! You just slide that down a little so I can see the extra questions. There we go. Final card done. I think I must have grabbed a wrong piece of mirror board at some point. I missed the mirror board around the outside of this, but I think it would have worked. If this is the card you really want to profile in your kit, my suggestion is do this one first, and then maybe we have to alter one of the other cards a little bit. But do this one first so you have your mirror board on it. Okay. There we go. That's it. Okay. Wow! Let's look at what we just did. We did this one. We did our really, really pretty easel card. I'm going to put a border on here so this stands up straight. It will be an easel. We did our super fantastic gatefold card. Now I'm going to find another piece of border. I have borders all over the place here. I'm going to put a border with one of my extra pieces of art at the top of this, and this is going to be really cute inside. You have lots of extra border pieces and stuff in your kit. And we did our Mrs. Tiggy Winkle ironing. We did all 4 of these, plus we watched the Mrs. Tiggy Winkle video, plus we did the exploration of the CD. I think we have accomplished a great deal. How long have we been at it, honey?
Almost 3.5 hours.
3.5 hours, okay. All right, I'm not going to keep you much longer because I'm sure you're exhausted, and I know I am. But I do have a little bit of show and tell. I'm not quite done yet, but I've been working on friendly frogs, and they're so darn cute. I have to show you. I just have to. I told you our kit was going to make 12. That is not true. I did not realize that I only got 2 out of the 4 punch-out sheets. So that means we're going to get 6 cards. That's the bad news. The good news is they're fabulous. They're just fabulous. Here we go. Here's one. See the little froggy climbing up the stem of the tulip? Absolutely gorgeous. We're using that seafoam green Miri, the holographic one, so it's got lots of extra sparkle. The frog on his lily pad surrounded by his friends. Well, thank you for encouraging the class. I had just a blast with that. This is my favorite of the ones I've done so far. We've got the frog in the flower pot. We have frogs plural in the flower pot. The colors that you're seeing coming through on the camera, or at least that I'm seeing, are brighter pink than my ribbons actually are. My ribbons are a little bit more pastel-y than they look on here. They look really, really bright. They're actually kind of mid-tone pink.
I think it's your TV.
It might be my TV
Perfect
too.
on my screen.
So that's the first 3 of the friendly frogs. I'll be making 3 more. And this is going to be next Saturday's class. We will be putting this together in the next day or 2, and we'll have these ready. We'll start at our regular time, even though there's 6 of these. These will go together quickly by comparison to what we did today. But did you guys have a wonderful time? It looks like you did. I'm so happy as I'm seeing you say, I'm going to make a bunch of these. You know, the first one takes a lot of time because we're, exploring and learning how the mechanisms work. It isn't really that difficult. You just need to learn how. And once you know how, they can go together pretty fast. So you're going to have a blast working on that. And you have so many choices on your CDs. I hope you get a good grip of what your CD has in it. It's incredible, totally incredible. So that's what I had for you today. Do you have questions, comments, or pearls of wisdom? If you didn't leave me thumbs up, please do. If you love this class, you want to see more just like it, give me that thumbs up, guys. I appreciate it. Any questions of any kind about anything, where do I find? I'm so excited to use the CD. Yay! Mission accomplished, Bryce. We have a safe landing. I love it. I love it. Okay, then I'm going to say good night, Gracie. We will see you for What's New Wednesday. You guys have a good weekend.